Hello, everyone, and welcome to this webinar, Mastering the BIM Workflow between Solibri and Catenda's Bimsync. We are very excited about this, at least I am. I think the open standard underlying this connection, BCF, is one of the most powerful open standards out there for the construction industry. So that's exciting for us. We have two parts to this day's webinar. First is an introduction where we'll talk a little bit about Catenda and our products and Solibri and their products. And Vilde and me will have a little bit discussion about open standards. Then we'll dive into the real meat of the webinar, a demonstration of how this actually works, so you can learn exactly what you need to do. We'll dive straight into the first part. Catenda is here because we want to make the AECOO industry data-driven, using open standards to achieve sustainability. So I believe that unless we have good digital workflows where data can flow as freely as possible between different software systems, it will be very, very difficult to achieve any kind of sustainability or environmental improvements for this industry as a whole. So that's the fundamental that we're working out from. And that drives us every day to do this. And that's also why we have this product that we called Bimsync Arena. Sorry, moving a little bit too fast. Where we actually combine documents, models, and issues in a seamless way. So moving away from the more traditional where you have documents and a place to store them and maybe you collaborate around that, we started with the models, making sure that we can visualize them very well, combine them, federate them, all that stuff. And then we added issue, making sure that you can keep track of what's going on in your project, stay on top of things. And then finally adding documents where you can access control and have workflows and approvals and submittals for what you need to share and work on during that. So we can support both the 2D workflows and of course the 3D workflows that BIM facilitates. We support all the open international standards like BCF 5C and so forth. We're secure and we have an open API. Also, we have a large ecosystem of software system that we can seamlessly talk to, like Solibri that you'll see today. I really like this image because it kind of hints at the open attitude that any kid has when they're out playing. You know, they're in the moment, they're, you know, seizing all kinds of interesting opportunities that their sort of consciousness or attention grabs. And that's the kind of attitude that we'd like to have at Catenda as well, keeping an open mind, being open with our customers, and at least having open international standards being at the foundation of the technology that we provide, because that allows all the data to flow as freely as possible. We realize that we're not a system that's going to solve everything, but there are a lot of really interesting software systems out there that we want to talk to and want to make sure that our end users can utilize the best software there is for all the different tasks. And that's why it's so exciting to have this open standard between Solibri and Catenda showing how that can be done. And the whole thing is about connecting not only the people and stakeholders in the project, but also the data between the different software systems. Connecting everything so that it flows as freely as possible. Changing something here should appear over there, and vice versa. And that's not a simple and easy thing to do, but that's at least the direction we're going, and that's what we try to do every day when we build our software. So I invite you to come and grow with us. We can help you on the journey to become more digital. We support the way you work today, and we're very interested in bringing you into the more efficient 3D workflows, but also more powerful stuff out there. And with that, I'd like to hand the floor over to you, Ville.
Thank you, Howard. Yeah, thanks. So at the moment, it seems that I'm experiencing the same technical difficulty you had. So I'm currently missing a sharing button, but did I just get it? Let's see.
It will automatically appear.
Wow, this is this is like magic. So now I just need to find the right button to press. So if you see my screen, then everything should be quite okay. Somebody say yes if you do see it.
We do.
All right, excellent. So maybe the first thing is thank you for the opportunity from to Catenda side to organize the event and sort of give us the opportunity also to address this sort of an interesting and quite important topic. Then maybe even a bigger thank you goes to the let's say 140 people at the moment online who have decided to use their time to also take part and learn about this one. So really excited to see you guys here. Maybe a few words on Solibri. So we have been around for some time. The company has actually been established already back in '96, and Solibri as a brand, I think, is quite well known. So we are the first one who actually has implemented a more comprehensive quality auditing system and sort of the set of rules that we have today, so that we can actually dive deep into the BIM models and then start checking for issues, omissions, to validate the data so that it's actually usable. Our mission to create a digital future of better builds is what drives us. And actually, I was really happy to see Howard, your presentation and the images that you're using there. So I think there's a very strong connection and a synergy between the companies, because we are built on the similar open thinking of being able to connect to everything else, giving our customers and users the ability to build their own systems so that they can actually then solve the workflows and solve the problems that we are having in construction today. So there's a lot of similarity here. Also, I think that there's a sort of an even a higher level synergy between the companies on the thinking that why do we do this? So we don't do this to earn more money, or we don't do this only for to please our shareholders or owners, but actually on the thinking that we actually want to make the planet more livable and habitable for a longer time, for generations to come. And I think this is the place where we actually have a lot of opportunity and sort of a responsibility to also think, how do we use resources? How do we use the limited environment that we have around us? Maybe as a key finding, I think I just read somewhere that about 30% of all waste that has been generated in the world is somehow connected to construction. And the major thing how we can avoid that one is to avoid rework. So it's building correctly the first time, optimizing the workflows, using materials in a wise way. And I think BIM is the way to go here. So I've been in this industry for, I always say 10 years, probably it's a bit more already, because I seem to be getting older every year. But more or less, you know, there's no alternative for BIM. So if you do digital construction, then you end up doing BIM one way or another. BIM is the way to unlock all the other technical advancements like drones, robotics, 3D printing, offsite manufacturing, you name it. It's all connected to better planning and better digital outcome and the design and plan of the construction. And I think the time when we were just happy to see a 3D designs has already, it's gone. So everybody's at the moment already expecting that the designs actually have information in them and that they actually have valuable content. And then we can evaluate them. And then we can say that how could that be better? And that requires quite a deep understanding of how the data has been put together and how you might have a case where you have data, but it's actually bad data. So with Solibri, we can actually dive deep into the building model and then tell you that you might have an issue there. You might have bad data when you actually think that you are doing quite okay. I think maybe the one thing I want to address still is the reason why we are compatible. So the one thing already said is that, okay, we seem to have, and we do have a similar high level alignment on the way we think. But then the other thing is that we are sort of both selected this kind of a primary focus, being a CDE or being the best one in the checking arena, being the best one to provide quality data for customers. And that's where we are. So there's no real competition. So somebody might say that, hey, you both do 3D viewing, but yeah, 3D viewing is a must. To understand the data these days, to understand the results of the checking or the BIM model, you need to be able to visualize. But who does the best visualization? That's not a conversation we should be in at the moment. The whole thing comes from the place that are we able to integrate the workflows, and are we able to solve some kind of a practical problem, or are we able to build a set of tools that actually get something done? So as said before, Open BIM is really sort of the fundament and the foundation of Solibri even. And we think that customers need to own their own data. Customers need to be able to select the tools that they're using, of course, provided that Solibri is selected. And then customers need to be able to design the workflow and the integration in any way that works for that project or for that set of, let's say, tools and requirements that we're having in your project. And I think, where we are, we can already prove that this is successful because we do have a big and a growing number of set of customers who are quite happy with the combination of Catenda and Solibri. So that's something that maybe next David and Benjamin can sort of show us in the real time, that how does it actually happen and where the magic is. So thank you for this one.
Thank you, Will. Benjamin is my name, Benjamin Adjaman. I assess customer success by Catenda, and also I currently work in an architecture firm as a head of digital practice. So I actually play both sides of the coin, which means I am a user of Bimsync as well as Solibri for years now, and that's why I think it's so cool to be able to do an event like this with Solibri to show the potential and also the capabilities of bringing these two softwares together. I will share my screen so that we could have a quick view at the different workflows. I hope my screen is visible at the moment.
Yes, we can see it.
Yes, perfect. So as Howard said before, the first part that we just finished is the introductory part, and now we're gonna get more into the practice side of things, where we actually tackle certain workflows, but very simplified workflows. So how does Bimsync and Solibri come together to offer something that really gives you a seamless transfer of information, a seamless transfer of communication aspect of things? But I kind of want to describe it this way. There's a cloud aspect of things where Bimsync covers, and then there's the on-premise side of things where Solibri covers, because you need the powerful, let's say, rule checking and rule-based checking needs to be on-premise. So how does such a collaboration look like? I would say, for example, we have created our IFC models and whatever authoring software. We are completely open, and we have uploaded these onto Bimsync. As Harvard said before, we manage not only the issues, we manage the documents, we also manage the communication. So the models are uploaded, they then get downloaded onto an on-premise folder with the different IFC disciplines. There's, for example, the architectural model with the structural model and MEP model. These are then sent into Solibri, where you actually do your quality checks. You could do your class detection, your model validation, because the model by itself, without doing these quality checks, are just data and not, let's say, rich information. So we have to make sure that this information that we have, or this data that we have, is also has good quality, and the quality determines everything that comes after. So once I've done the checks in Solibri, I then create Pcf files based on my quality check results. And these Pcf files are then uploaded onto the cloud and onto Bimsync. And once these issues are uploaded onto Bimsync, Bimsync kind of creates the single source of truth now. So these issues could be distributed to different project parties, and there will be no redundancy happening in these issues. So it means that this issue is just in one place now, and everyone can view these issues wherever they are and comment on them, and everyone will be able to see. And what then also happens, I could then take these commented issues or issues where I change the status, where problems have been solved, and sync it back to Solibri. And Solibri also sends back information then constantly back to Bimsync. So then we kind of close a circle here where you have, you're always sure that the issue that you're looking at is not a copy, it's just the one issue that's there, and everyone in the project gets to be part of this process and view this issue and follow the progress of the project. What we're also working on at the moment in collaboration with Solibri is to be able to link the IFC models directly from Bimsync onto the on-premise folder and have them automatically updated then in the model. Because for me as a lead coordinator in different projects, what's always time consuming is going to download these models all the time from the cloud to on-premise folder, and then create my SMC file, and then have to always update my SMC file with the current models. So once we have a direct link or an automated workflow or automated process to do that, that will save a lot of time. Good, so now we jump into what this first, we're gonna do two demos. Two live demos. One is going to focus on the internal workflow. How does it look? My screen just jumped in the back. Yeah, I hope my screen is still visible. Right, we are going to focus on the internal workflow.
I cannot see your screen, Benjamin.
Okay, it just jumped again. Sorry.
There we go.
Here we go now. Okay, for some reason I just got kicked off. Right. So as I was saying before, we're going to focus on the internal workflow and the external workflow. The internal workflow is to ensure that the models that are submitted or are submitted for a project are of quality, fulfill the requirements of the project, so that, for example, the BIM manager later could go and take these models, federate them, and do his 3D coordination. So the main aspect here is the internal quality. I want to make sure that the data that I'm giving out has a very high quality and fulfills the requirement of the BIM execution plan or any other requirement there's to follow. Right, so for the internal workflow, we're gonna kind of do a little bit of play rowing, myself and David. And for the internal workflow, we're going to say there are three parties involved at the moment. There's the BIM modeler, the guy that is modeling the stuff in a different authoring software. There is the BIM coordinator that is responsible for the internal quality checks to make sure that the model is of quality. And there's the project manager that wants to know what's going on in his project. So how does such a workflow look like? For example, as I said, the BIM modeler will then model an IFC, for example, in AECOO. This would then be exported as an IFC file. Sorry, before he will actually model it, obviously, in an AECOO format and not model in the IFC. And this model then will be exported in as an IFC file, open standard, and the BIM coordinator would then take this model, push it into Solibri, and do his model validation. Are they certain objects intersecting each other, or are the two walls in the same position? Are the doors, are the distance between the doors and certain walls adequate according to the standards and stuff like that? To make sure that not only the model is of quality, but the model is of quality so that when I want to do my quantity takeoff and stuff like that, the data that I'm actually getting from the model is accurate and I can work with. So once the model validation is done in Solibri, I could do my issue creation, and in issue creation, what I'm also doing is I'm not only creating the issues based on the results, I'm also creating issues and assigning these to different parties, because it could be that I don't only have one modeler in the project, I have multiple BIM modelers, and each one has their own responsibility. The issue distribution, this is when Bimsync comes in, because we want to make sure that the issues are not duplicated, that they remain, that when if I have one issue, it remains one issue no matter how many people or how many project parties are involved in this issue. And then once the issues are distributed with Bimsync, I could open the issues directly using Archicad or any other authoring software, and the viewpoint will be recreated in my authoring software. So I don't need to, I know exactly what objects are in this issue. Once I'm finished solving this issue, I will update the issue by updating the status. I will also update the IFC model. Now the screen is kind of playing the fool, but now I have it again. Right, I will update the IFC model and send this updated model obviously back to the BIM coordinator, because I have updated the issues as well as the IFC model. The BIM coordinator could choose where he want to review and close this issue. He could either say, I'm doing it in Solibri, or I would do this also in Bimsync, depending where he is and how complicated the issue is. Or for certain issues, he might need to run a check again. So if he needs to run a check again, then Solibri will be the place to do it. What also happens is that the complete issue history is then saved in Bimsync. So no matter what time in the project or no matter what stage I am in the project, I could grab these fairly quickly or have a quick review and see the history. So now we're probably wondering, what does a project manager does? The project manager in most cases is not so technically inclined, or he doesn't have the time to be using, let's say, complicated software. He just want to view the model. So once I have the model uploaded onto Bimsync, he could do his visual checks, which is no rule-based checks. It's just a run through the model and do aesthetic checks or simple visual checks. And based on these visual checks, he could also do his issue creation. He could also do issue distribution and send this issue back to the respective modelers, and they will then resolve these issues and update the issues, update the model as well, and the project manager can confirm his issues that he created, or maybe it's just RFIs that he created. So now what I would do, I will hand it over to David, so he could just we could just start the live demo. Which is, as I said, it's based on model validation and internal quality checks. But it's a very simple workflow.
Yes, so thanks, Benjamin, and hi, everyone. My name is David. Just to introduce myself, I'm a product manager here at Solibri, specifically working on Solibri Desktop, which we'll be showing today. And here in this scenario, we're talking about, I'll be showing how a BIM manager or BIM coordinator uses the platform. So I guess kind of the key element here that we really want to convey is how the process and making sure that you're working on the updated model and the entire kind of sync of the process, how important that is. And I know that I'm hoping that the majority of you have already used Solibri and seen Solibri, but in any case, I'll try to go as deep as we can with our time here. But hopefully you can see my screen, and you can see here that I have this model here that I'm working on. And I want to do really two things with my model. I want to validate the model to see if there are any issues, any kind of problems that we have. And Solibri, of course, allows you to do that with our checking tools. And the other thing I want to do is once I validate it, I want to search for issues, and if there are issues, I want to create them so that other people in my project can take care of those issues. So what I do here is I will go to the checking tab. This is a model that I got from, it could be from Bimsync, it could be from any other way you guys are familiar with, of course, how we're sharing models. And I will run my check here. So as you can see, the check is being run at the moment, and we can already see that there are some certain issues that Solibri had found in the model. So I'll let the check finish running, which it did right now, and I can see, for example, that we have an issue with clearance. Specifically here, we have an issue that has been identified, that we have two components that are intersecting. And you can see here the door, specifically here, the door and the wall. There is an intersection here in the model. So what I can do here now is I can look at this. I can, of course, also look at some other issues. There are similar issues here. But if we take this issue as an example, I can go ahead and create that issue so that I can report it to Benjamin. So what do? I can basically click here on my right click, and I can add a slide. And in this window here, I will be able to describe the issue. So for example, here we have an intersection or a collision between door and wall. And I'm able to add any more information that I need. It creates this kind of snapshot, already tells me what the component is. But let's say that there is this issue, and we can see that I might need to get, let's say, an answer by tomorrow about this issue. If I want to add any more comments, of course, I can use it here. But for the sake of this demo, let's just close this. So now I have added this issue to the slide. And the tool that we want to show here today is Pcf Live Connector. So now that I have other members of my project working on Bimsync, all I need to do in Solibri is, once I've identified the issues and validated the model, I can go to Pcf Live and I can click here to connect to my Bimsync project. So in a second or a few seconds, we will see my project appearing here. And what it will do is that I will be able to choose my project that I'm currently working on, and I will then add my created issue to the project. So let's give it a second. There it is. So since we're working on internal, just take a few seconds to sync. There we go. I click on Start Sync, and you can see here on the bottom it indicates that the process has begun. What it does now is that it connects to the Bimsync server, and it will sync with any existing issues that we might have in the project. So for example, these issues here that you see, they have been created previously. Some of them are still open, some of them already been resolved. So I can also see the status here. If I expand my view, I can also do it from here. And then I can, of course, add new issues, like the issue that we just found now. So let's do that. So what I need to do is I will click here on Import Issues, and we'll select the check-in results, which we just did. Click OK. This is a confirmation screen. So some of the values on Solibri, they might be a little bit different than the values on Bimsync. So we just need to make sure that these are set correctly. So what we call in Solibri open and error, they appear on Bimsync as active and clash. So that is OK. There we go. And now we have the issue here. That is the issue that we just saw. So I'll click, I'll make sure that it's set to active, and the type is clash, and I can assign it to Benjamin. So I can assign it to specific people in my project if I know that they need to take care of this issue. And that is all you need to do. So what happens is that the sync already automatically starts to run, and we can see here already that it has been synced. So the green mark here means that the issue has been synced. And this is always running in the background. So once we have done that, then we can continue, of course, to see how the rest of the process looks on Bimsync side. So I will pass it on back to Benjamin.
Good. Thank you very much, David. So I'm now playing the role as the BIM modeler. I hope my screen can be seen.
Yes.
Perfect. So now I'm in the Bimsync interface, where I'm also on the same project that David is on. So if I go to my issues and kind of refresh, I should see the issue once I go to the correct issue board. So now we see a minute ago, I got this issue assigned to me, which is the same issue that we just saw based on the clash detection that David just did. So first of all, me as a BIM modeler, I could evaluate this issue fairly quickly to see how this issue looks then in the model. Obviously, I'm not going to be able to change anything directly on Bimsync. What I need to do is then go back to my authoring software, connect directly then to the Bimsync, and get this issue so that this viewpoint could be shown directly there. So what we would do then is let's just imagine that I did everything already on my authoring software, and now I have a model, an IFC model that I could upload fairly quickly. So let me just upload. So somehow my browser seems to be frozen, but this kind of thing seems to happen all the time. So let me just log out and log back in. To make sure that that is perfect. But these are the kind of things that usually happen in a live demo. So now if we go to our issues, internal, this is the one that was done 3 minutes ago. And now it seems like my browser is still frozen. Let me just do the same thing again. Sorry about that. With my other account. All right, so we have, just have to get the project here, Bimsync joint webinar. And first of all, we can see here that all the issues that David saw on his side are here as well. So I could try these, oh, now it's working, and see, for example, that this door and this wall are colliding. It's colliding in the sense of a soft clash. So when this door opens, it's going to hit against the wall. So let me just go back to the issues and actually click on the one that was assigned to me a couple of minutes ago. So now we see this issue. What I'm going to then do is then upload the new model, which I have prepared here already. So me as a BIM modeler, I've done this model already. So I would just say revised model, and submit. So this, while this model is uploading, we can actually have a look at the other issues that have been uploaded here. So let's just go here and we have a look at, for example, this one, which is a pretty similar issue. So I could even go here, I could change the status, I could even assign it to someone else. And here is, for example, another another issue, and once I go here and I say hide others, we see that I think this wall is kind of is intersecting, where the column is intersecting with the wall. So this actually has to be pushed back so that it's flush. In the meantime, we could check back our models. We close this for a second and see that our model now has been updated, has been revised. So now if I go back to this same issue and open it, just still kind of uploading. Sorry about that. What happened then is that we will see that this wall is not there anymore because we prepared the issue already. And once this wall is not there anymore, what I would then do is change this issue to resolved. The reason for this is I can't close this issue as yet because David, who created this issue, still has to review this issue to make sure that the issue has been resolved, as I said it has been, and then he will then close it. So in the meantime, I will just say I will hand it back to David so that he will just upload the current model, and we will see in Solibri that this issue then has been resolved. And on the next demo, before we start the external demo, then I will show you how this issue also has been resolved on Bimsync. So David, you could take back over.
Yes, so a little bit back and forth. So now I've updated the revised model. I got the revised model back. And once again, all I want to do here is I want to check that these issues have been resolved. So I'll go back to my, I can go back to my checking. I can run my checking again to see if those issues still occur. So for example, here, the check that we had before of clearance in front of doors, I can see that it returns okay, which means that the issue is no longer there. I can, of course, dive a little bit deeper and go into the model and see kind of a visual check if I need to, but for now, we can see that this issue is no longer there. So then I go back to my Pcf Live connector, and you can see here that the status already has been updated. So now this issue has been resolved. So what I can do now as the BIM coordinator, I can go inside and say, look at if there are any comments or anything else that Benjamin has added. But since the issue is now resolved, I can approve it. So I will mark it as approved. You can see the small icon here changing, and the sync starts. And then this issue is basically no longer an issue. So this has been approved. And I can do the same for other issues. I have a few more issues here, so I can, of course, look at other issues as well from this model that we have created previously. I can change the status for all of them together. So let's, for example, just approve them. So you can see here as well, all these issues are now fixed. They're no longer there. For the sake of the example, they might be actually still there. Yeah. Most likely, but yeah, and you can see how it has been now changed, and that also will appear, of course, on Bimsync now as well. So yeah, that's how it is.
Right. So I would take back over again just to show that everything that David has done will also be replicated on Bimsync. I hope that my screen is now visible. So now, if I check these issues on the internal quality check, we will see that all these issues have been approved. Well, this one hasn't been approved as yet, but all these have been approved, and we could now go and see what I mentioned before. Right. So now, if I isolate, we can see that the wall is not there anymore. So I can even go and say hide others and see that the wall that was kind of interrupting or hindering this door from opening is now gone. So that will be then the workflow for internal issues or internal conflicts. So now what this actually does, this prepares our model now for the external workflow, because now we have eradicated all of these conflicts and all these issues. We could then go on and say we're going to start our external model validation, which is then a kind of the similar workflow, but it includes a lot more different parties. So you have, like, in this case, you have a BIM manager, the client or owner, you have the MEP engineer, you have the architect, you have the structural engineer, and all of these are playing different roles. So if we say now that we have the approved model from the architect, and this is the basis for the approved model from the mechanical engineer and also from the structural engineer, what they would then do is submit these models, these IFC models, onto Bimsync. The BIM manager, in this case David, would then get these models from Bimsync, do his clash detection, and also in this case, the clash detection will incorporate multiple disciplines, which now includes the structural engineer, the architect, and the mechanical engineer. So if you compare this to the internal workflow, where there we only had the internal discipline workflow, where we just want to make sure that the data or the models that we are submitting has the necessary quality and fulfill all requirements. After David does his crash detection, he would do the similar process of creating issues. He would distribute the issues, in this case, to me. I will then go and solve these issues, or this one or two issues, whatever the case may be, in the authoring software. Update my issue so that Bimsync knows something has happened to this issue. David would then see on Bimsync or even in Solibri directly that I have done something to this issue, in this case, change the status to resolved. I will also update the IFC model from Archicad directly to Bimsync or any other authoring software. David will get these models again and confirm this issue or close these issues. So we are now wondering what the client has to do here. The client is also, I guess, a very busy person and has a lot of things to do with the project managing and stuff like that. So he's not really into the modeling side of things. I always say the client should also be part of the BIM workflow. It should not just be limited to the modeling engineers or the modeling parties. So here the client can access the models, federate them, view them how you want to view them on Bimsync, because all the engineers are uploading their models on Bimsync anyway. He could create and review RFIs that are sent to him, or create RFIs himself. He could distribute them to the necessary parties, which means he taps into this workflow, and the necessary parties not necessarily being these three could then resolve them, because here, just for an example, we picked 3 disciplines, but if we all know big projects have a lot of different disciplines. They will update these, and the client can then go and view these also directly on Bimsync. So we see now we are broadening the audience that are involved in the BIM process, which means they're not just limited to the experts, people that are just involved in the project and want to use the model for their own uses. Even if they're not modeling, they can use it if it's just a visual check or in meetings to discuss certain things, whatever the case may be. So now what I will do, I will hand it back over to David, and he will do clash detection, and this time based on a 3D coordination in between different disciplines.
Yes, so thanks, Benjamin. So from Solibri's perspective, again, this is a very kind of similar process, I guess. But as you can see here, this is a model that has multiple disciplines. We have MEP, we have landscaping, the design model is here as well. So how do we making sure that how do we make sure that the communication between all these different parties are it is completely in sync? So the same thing here as well. What I want to do is I want to go to check my model for clash detection, like Benjamin just mentioned. So I'll do that here. As you can see, the check is run fairly quickly. And here as well, we can also see all kinds of of issues. I'm going to look at one of them here, doors and windows. So let's look at this one, for example. So here we have a good example of an intersection between a door and a pipe. So this is a good example. I can kind of maybe even show it from this section plane. So you can see it really does intersect here. So what I can do is I can, again, take a snapshot, create an issue. Here, specifically, I think actually this issue already has a slide, but we can look at another one. Oh, this is also an interesting one. So this one has, I think it's a socket at the door. So this one, let me see, okay. So let's take just the first one. I think we've already created an issue, but what we can, I'm sorry, not an issue. We already created a slide. But what we can do is we go back to Pcf Live Connector. I would need to create, to connect again to the project, this time the external project. So we created it as a separate one. So again, just a few seconds. There it is. Coordination external. So this takes usually a few seconds just to validate your connection to the server. Now it's syncing. So at the moment you can see it's importing some existing issues which will appear here. And I can then import my issues. Checking results. So these are, yeah, this is the issue that I was looking at earlier. And again, same process here. I can, of course, assign it to someone. So I'll assign it to Benjamin. So I can, again, add some details, different information that I need to add. And once I click elsewhere, it starts to sync. You can see also the indication here. And first issue is sync, second issue is sync. And then you can see, of course, the information up here, which will appear also on Bimsync. So that's the part from Solibri. Yeah, so handing over to Benjamin.
Yeah, so I will take back over, and we could then see these issues that David just created also on the Bimsync side of things. So I'm now on the issue board. Let me just refresh to make sure. Yes, a few seconds ago, these two issues were created. If I go now and I press play, the models will then get loaded, and I can see that here in my curtain wall, there's actually a socket in my curtain wall, which obviously can't work. So me now as a mechanical engineer will then go and change the model and re-upload the model. And the same thing applies then for the second issue, which is then the pipe on the door. We could just push it back here a little bit. So I can make, obviously I could also add cut-in planes and stuff like that to my model. And here we see that the pipe is actually in front of the door. I could also isolate the model so that we see exactly what's going on. Sorry, I was a little bit too quick. Right, so what we actually want to do is put the pipe, as we can see here, I think behind this door, there's a shaft, and the pipe's supposed to go in the shaft. So what I would then do as a BIM modeler for the MEP planner, I will go and change this, re-upload it, and once I have it re-uploaded, I will then change the status. So I just uploaded the model. As I said, due to time reasons, I'm not going to replace the model, but as we saw before, it will just be a matter of updating the IFC file, and then I will go and say issue is resolved, and the same thing for the next one. And David will see this immediately on his side, and then he could approve these issues. So I think we are running probably a little bit tight on time. David, you want to just show quickly that you have the models, the issues on your side, and then I will run the slides, and we could have the Q&A session.
Sure, yeah. So I updated the model now again, got the latest edition of the model now, and as you can see, if I go back to my issues here, I should be able to see that the socket is no longer here. It appears as a snapshot, but of course it's not here, and the same for this intersection. Yeah, they're no longer intersect. You can see there's a space between them. So that's update, and of course, again, in this case, I mark them as a group. Yeah, and that's pretty much it.
Perfect, perfect. So I will take back over, and we could just have a quick Q&A session where we just answer some questions that we are getting at the moment. Let me just say start the slide from here. Right, so the first question I'm seeing, a question, hello, my name is Manuel Sanchez Nito. I am a project specialist, time now engineering from Brazil, and I have a question. What are your solutions with interoperability when the modeler do not have a way to export an IFC file? I could answer that. If the modeler or if the modeling software you're using doesn't support an IFC, then we have a problem, because we have to be able to work on the open standard, which both Bimsync and Solibri is based on the IFC standard. That's why you will definitely need to get an authoring software that supports IFC to be able to have the seamless workflow or the seamless collaboration workflow. See, we have another question. Is it possible to view federated model in BIMS in the Bimsync viewer? Yes, these are possible. As we saw before, we saw the models, and no matter how many models I upload onto Bimsync, I'm able to pick exactly how many models I want to federate and view these models, similar to in Solibri, where I could also have different models, they're federated, and I'm able to view these models depending on the selection that I have. Okay, so another question. Hi guys, great workflow. It has been working for us for a while now. Can you show us how the IFC model synchronization will work? You are referring to what I mentioned before, that we are gonna kind of get the IFC models directly from Bimsync onto an on-premise folder and link this to Solibri. I can't show you at the moment how it will work. That's why I just showed it in the slides. But as I said, we are in the moment working on this, and as soon as there's something to present, I'm sure we will be eager to share this with you guys.
I can add a little comment. Yeah. So Solibri and Catenda has been working together inside Building Smart International for over 10 years, actually. Part of it is working on the BIM collaboration format, the BCF format we've been showing here today with Benjamin and David, showing how that really works well. But we're also working on something called OpenCDE, which means that we are able to exchange files together. So that's Solibri and Catenda are some of the first companies in the world that are actually implementing this and having it running. So that's something we'll be showing. We have a prototype running. I was told by my CTO today that we actually have that up and running, but it will be coming soon.
I see we have another question pertaining to the BCF connector in Solibri. Dialogate only with Bimsync and Solibri or with other softwares like Revit and AECOO. Are they plugins for these? From Bimsync side, I could say there's a plugin directly for Revit, and the BCF Live connector also connects to various other platforms or various other BIM solutions.
Yeah, and I could add also from Solibri side, we have connections to several other services. We haven't, of course, we're talking about Bimsync now, but we have other services like AECOO, Dribble Connect. Daleks is one of the recent ones that we added. So this tool is obviously, we continue to develop it as well. Hopefully we have more to come.
Okay, I see a question here directed at Solibri. David, you want to take it or? So I could just read the question.
Yeah.
I am a BIM infra specialist. Does Solibri check Silver 3D piping models, and does Bimsync deal with infra? Okay, infra. Okay. If Bimsync deals with infrastructure, then I guess I thought there was more to the question. From Bimsync side, I could say we are involved in a lot of infrastructure projects with SBB, for example, in Switzerland and in Austria. And we have also big infrastructure projects in France. So Bimsync definitely supports infrastructure projects. And then for the other questions, I will hand it over to David.
Yeah, so from our perspective, we have a comprehensive various checks that we can run on different projects. We can also allow users to create their own classifications and rules for their own projects. So there should be, I'm pretty sure, I don't know like all of the list of what we do in terms of every single check, but of course, yeah, there should be a way to adjust it to your project and to your specific rules and needs.
Yeah, I see another question here. If it's possible to generate a report in order to issue regularly to client to understand the current status of the project. Yes, you could have BCF exports in the form of reports. It could be even done as an Excel file or whatever the case may be, and you could send this to a client for review. But the best workflow will obviously be to have the client then directly in the BIM process, so giving the client an access to the Bimsync Arena, and they can follow the project live without having to get intermediate reports all the time.
Yes, we have another question. Hello from Norway. In Solibri, we have the option to assign an issue to multiple people when connected to Bimsync. We lose that option and can only assign to one person. I'm assuming that's it could be just a bug. It could be just a pinpoint issue.
No. The way that the BCF works, and from my experience, is also important to have the assignments very clear. Because from my experience, what I know is that if you assign an issue to multiple parties, then everyone sits there and say, I don't have to do anything. The other guy is going to do it, and the other guy is saying, I don't have to do anything. He's going to do it. So I think it's very important to have one assigned person. But what is also possible in Bimsync is that you can mention other people in the issue. So you could say, I'm assigning it to David, but I want Harvard also to be aware of this issue, and I will mention Harvard in my issue and say the issue is assigned to Harvard to David, but Harvard is aware of what's going on in the issue and could add his 2 cents whenever necessary. Good. Let me just see if there's another question. How can we customize the dashboard in Bimsync to include more than 2 visible issue boards? Now we're kind of tapping into the back end of things, probably.
Answer briefly and just say that currently you cannot do that, unfortunately, but this is something that's we've been working on. We're trying to bring data much more clear out to the user. So there are various ways of doing that. We're working with a plugin for Power BI, and we're working on Google's Data Studio. So those are various ways of enterprise to be better looking at the data, but also internally in Bimsync. So that dashboard will change at some point next year.
Okay, so let me check the next one. Hi, here can we see all the issues as a summary with their statuses, Solibri or Bimsync? I think this is pertaining to having a summary of the issues. This, as Harvard just said, could be done with a connection to Power BI or to a connection to Google, or we could just pull the reports, and it's fairly easy to summarize them.
Yeah, I think both in Solibri and Bimsync, you can look at the issues in various ways, filter and sort. Yeah. We also have a mobile application that will do the same thing, so it's quite easy.
Yeah. So going on to the next question. Oh, I think that was the last question. Okay, good. So I think we need to start wrapping up.
Yeah, thank you so much for everyone who attended and for your time. And we apologize for stepping over the time a little bit. I'm really happy, and thank you, David and Benjamin and Ville, for joining us and showing this really awesome workflow. I think the BCF standard has the potential to save the world $1 billion every year, but we'll get back to that in a later statement. But thank you, and we're wrapping up.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thanks everyone for being part of this, and it was a pleasure.